Today I picked up a little something, kind of just randomly stumbled across this in the classifieds, and I thought, you know what, that might be worth checking out. This is an Atari LYNX. This is Atari's second handheld system. Obviously, given the time, I'd say it was designed to compete against Nintendo's Game Boy. This is the Atari LYNX 2. It's basically a redesign of the original. The original came out in 1989, late 1989, so it's before Game Gear. Game Gear, for example, came out late 1990. So this is basically a year earlier than the Game Gear that the original LYNX came out. The original system was quite a bit bigger than this system. Probably add a good 3 or 4 inches to the side of it. Ridiculously huge. This came out a few years later in 1991. Basically a redesign. There's a lot of improvements on this version. But anyways, so like I said, the original came out in 1989. And it was actually a really powerful handheld for the time. I'm going to compare it to the Game Gear just because it gives you an idea. Something to kind of to reference to is the Game Gear, which came out a year later. This has a faster 8-bit main processor, and this has a few 16-bit coprocessors, very fast clocked. One's a math coprocessor. This thing can actually push a little bit of polygons. It's also got some scaling hardware. The system itself runs off 6 AA's, similar to the Game Gear. They go on the bottom on this one, all 6. Now they claim 5 to 6 hours of gameplay, but I haven't really had this long enough to say how accurate that is. I mean, I would have to imagine it's going to suck back batteries worse than the Game Gear did, because it's got more processors in it. It's a little more powerful. The screen's a little bit bigger, just a little bit wider. The Game Gear screen's about 3.2 inches. This is 3.5, so it's a little bit bigger. This is the cartridge slot here, and I got 6 games of mine. These are the games. They're really thin, as you can see. They're almost like cue card. They're even smaller, and they have this little lip on the end of them so that you can grip them. They go in like this, and so like I said, you can grip that to pull it out. The original LYNX, the games actually went in the side. You had to open up this kind of port on the side and slide the game in, and they're really hard to get out. So the LYNX 2, that's one of the redesigns, is they've changed the location for the cartridge slot. But other than the cartridge slot on top here, we've got the brightness knob for the LCD screen. We have the power input for an AC adapter. We have the ComLynx cable, which was the link cable. You could link up to 18 of these together. There's the headphone jack. It's stereo on this version. On the original version it was not stereo. And there's the volume control. Now the front of the system, you're going to notice that there's 4 buttons, kind of in a weird arrangement. And that's because you could hold this either way. You could hold it right-handed, and this was your 1 and 2 button here. Or sorry, I guess they call it B and A. They've actually got the Game Boy style B and A. Or you could hold it like this, left-handed style, and this was now your B and A. Now, the buttons on the front here are power on, power off. So it's actually a button that you press to turn it on and a button you press to turn it off. It's not like a switch like most of the other handhelds at the time. Now this is a button for the backlit. You can actually turn the backlit screen on and off. So if you're outside in the bright sun, you can turn the backlight off and just play without the backlight on. That might be where they get their 5 hours of battery life off 6 AA's. That might be with the backlight off, which would make sense. Now you got some option buttons here. Option 1, option 2. In the middle is reset. And if you press reset and option 2 at the same time, it flips the screen upside down. That's for when you're going to play it left-handed, because you're flipping the system over. You actually have to flip the video on the screen over. So that's how you do that. They've got some rubber grips on the back here. It's actually fairly comfortable to hold. The original did not have these rubber grips on the back. So anyways, like I said, I got 6 games, so I'm going to show a few of them off. I'm just going to refocus the camera and we'll get into the games. So this first game up here is Batman Returns. Just a basic side-scroll beat-em-up kind of game. I think at one point this was bundled with the Lynx too, and it's a very common game. Pretty much whenever you find a Lynx for sale, this game's going to come with it. Now, the first thing you'll notice is the screen is much better than the Game Gear's. It's so much easier to see. It doesn't get as blurry when things move. It's just a much better LCD screen overall. But anyways, let's this is Red Baron. No, sorry, this is there it is, Warbirds. This is Warbirds. This shows off both the scaling hardware and the coprocessor's ability to push polygons. Keep in mind this is an 8-bit system from 1989 in a handheld. Now there's an example of flipping the video on the screen. You press those bottom two, option 2 and here we go. Now as you can see, there's polygon usage on the ground, and there's scaling effects used for the clouds and your enemy planes. This is massively impressive for a handheld in 1989. I mean, this thing predates the Game Gear. There is no way the Game Gear could push this game. This is an 8-bit system, and we've got full polygons and full speed. And scaling, it's really amazing. This system really had some potential, and I mean, it's just a shame that you know, Atari didn't have the money for advertising, or the system cost too much. It definitely cost a lot to build because of all those extra processors in it. The system was definitely overpriced, you know, and it definitely didn't have the kind of third-party support that Nintendo had, and you know, it didn't have the advertising. The system started to pick up in about 1990 to 1991, but then the Game Boy the sales just flew by. The system lasted until 1996. That's when it was officially discontinued by Atari. So it had a decent lifespan. It had a 7-year lifespan. But there really weren't a whole lot of games released for it in that time. But just look at these polygons and this scaling. I still can't believe this is an old 8-bit handheld. I mean, think about what we could have had on this system if you know, the right developers got behind it. It's hard to believe we're looking at a system that came out the same year as the Game Boy and a year earlier than the Game Gear. And like I said, the color screen on this Lynx 2 anyways, it's hard to tell in this video. The camera doesn't pick it up, you know, amazingly well, but when you see it in person side by side to the Game Gear, the LCD screen and the backlight on it it's much easier to see. It's a much better screen. It really is an amazing little system. It's a shame this one didn't catch on.